Hey, how's it going? My name is Drew Dixon. I'll be discussing a recommendation for your company. So this initial chart represents the entire portfolio's growth over time based on my allocation recommendation. So I recommend that equity should make up 60% of the portfolio, with the remaining 20% to real estate, and then the last 20% to market neutral. This was the most optimal results that we found. And with these results, the total endowment portfolio will be worth 1.29 billion in 5 years, which is a really great return. In terms of the GART model optimization, to me, there's kind of three key things that we're looking for here. I think one being understanding the forecasted variance of the portfolio over time, understanding the error of the portfolio over time, and then also understanding the volatility of the portfolio in regards to fluctuations. So I think, as you can see on the right with the charts, the forecasted variance when it's optimal is actually a lot smoother than the optimized results, which is great. The mean square error is lower in the optimized results, which is also really good. And utilizing the information, you're able to find the forecasted volatility, which actually increases to 15%, but also represents a more accurate representation. So although the portfolio does go down $10 million in value based on that volatility, it's still a very accurate depiction, which is good. In terms of the money manager's recommendation, I recommend a balance between stability and high risk because high reward. So I think hiring managers 7, 8, 9, and 10 would be very valuable to the portfolio success. So managers 7, 8 represent more long-term stability. They have 10.5 years of experience, but still have a Sharpe ratio that's within the top four. And then managers 9 and 10 only have 4.5 and 3.5 years of experience, but their Sharpe ratios are twice as large as any other manager in the portfolio, if not higher. And in terms of my overall process for analyzing data, I kind of have four key areas that I keep in mind. Is just making sure I gather context. So everything I do, I look at the end goal in mind and why I'm doing it, to what all end goal deliverables am I trying to achieve. I make sure that I remove all bias, all personal bias, or all background bias. I make sure to lay out all variables and constraints to ensure that you're met as my customer. And I also remember to include some common sense. And a good example of that is how I actually eliminated two managers who only had 2 years of experience. I felt like they didn't fit well into the candidate pool. So that's a good example. In terms of other areas, so I think the constraint of 20% for market neutral actually influenced the data a lot, and I think it was in a good way. And I made sure to keep that in my assessment. Excluding the 8-month data from the GARCH model was important because I felt like it wasn't a reliable data point because there were so many other data points that were year-based, and to have that 8-month data point wasn't consistent. Um, the fact that the volatility model or volatility went up from 13 to 15 based on the GARCH model, I found it very interesting, but I thought it was a more accurate depiction of the portfolio's value in the future. And then in terms of market managers, I actually calculated two Sharpe ratios, one with the half-life in 2019 data and the other without. And I used both assessments to determine which market managers were the best. So here's my sources and references, and thank you for your time.